mega rejig for the Gujarat cabinet, for the Gujarat state leadership from top to bottom is now complete. And what an unprecedented set of developments really coming in. With months to go for the Gujarat Assembly poll, the BJP inducted 24 ministers into the cabinet led by first-time MLA Bhupendra Patel. Bhupendra Patel, who was announced as the chief minister after Mr. Rupani tendered his resignation. And then came in an entirely new cabinet. These 24 inductees literally replaced everybody on that cabinet. It's not something that you often see. Few changes, some kind of rejig ahead of elections, yes. In fact, in Gujarat itself, last time, before the state elections 5 years ago, similar change was made at the top, where the chief minister was changed, and Anandiben Patel was replaced by Vijay Rupani. But such an overhaul, where the entire team itself is moved out, all of those MLAs are moved out as ministers, and a new set is brought in. Now, experts say there are many reasons for it. The central leadership seemed to be unhappy with the performance of the chief minister and the entire cabinet. Something had to be done to change the perception about after the second COVID wave. The second COVID wave was disastrous for many states in our country, including Gujarat. And that trauma is still there in the minds of people. Somebody had to get the blame. There is so much of anger. You address that situation as well. Dissent within the ministers, within the state leadership, seems to be the other big issue. Of course, keeping in mind 2022 elections and what you need to do as you go in, start afresh, put a fresh pitch and a fresh campaign. And the Patidar community that needs to also be reached out to, it needs to be appeased as well ahead of the elections. But what was also unprecedented, and I want to emphasize on this, is that this oath-taking ceremony was actually scheduled for yesterday. It was supposed to take place yesterday. Elaborate arrangements were made at the governor's house. Announcements had been done. Posters had been put up. When all of a sudden we got information that the plan has been changed. And the Chief Minister's office tweeted that the oath ceremony has now been deferred. Soon reports emerged about how there was so much of dissent amongst obviously and pushback and backlash obviously from the people who were being kicked out of the cabinet, new people being brought in, so much of back and forth, disagreement, dissent, that the ceremony itself had to be postponed. The central leadership wanted a hard reset of the cabinet. Despite one-day delay, they seem to have gotten that done and gone ahead and done that. Now, is this kind of an internal dissent for the BJP, that too in a state like Gujarat, which is, where both Narendra Modi and Amit Shah have a very strong hold, is that problematic? And will this rejig really help them in the polls next year? Let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining me on this conversation. Tonight, Smita Prakash, editor of ANI, Ajay Umar, senior editor for Nav Gujarat Samay, Tuhin Sinha of the BJP, Dr. Anshul Avijit, national spokesperson for the Congress Party, and Rakesh Shirpara, spokesperson for the Aam Aadmi Party, the party that hopes to make some big gains in the next assembly election. So the new big player there. But I want to start off with Mr. Ajay Umar. Good to have you on the show after so long, Mr. Umar.
Yes.
In all of the time that you've covered politics there, how do you read what's happened over the last 3-4 days in Gujarat?
Look, Tanvi, it was very clear from BJP's side that, they wanted to change face in Gujarat and they wanted to bring Patel in Gujarat, particularly after this, corporation elections in Surat, BJP got setback in the sense that BJP had won all 6 municipal corporation and all 33 district panchayat elections. But they realized that, Patels are rallying behind Aam Aadmi Party, and in Rajkot, which is considered to be a epicenter of which was considered to be an epicenter of Patel agitation during Anandiben Patel's regime. Naresh Patel has declared there that next chief minister in Gujarat should be Patel, and if BJP will not listen to us, then we will have now political option available. And some prominent Patel leaders had joined BJP, Aam Aadmi Party, and the party was, in dilemma what to do. So they never wanted to lose Patel vote bank, which was finding Aam Aadmi Party as an option. So it was nothing but an appeasement, A. And B, BJP wanted to do this experiment because, they have anti-incumbency of 26 years, 9 years of Kesubhai Patel, 13 years of, Narendra Modi, and then Anandiben Patel and Vijay Rupani. So 26 years, they are ruling in Gujarat. So in their survey, they came out with one thing that, BJP may manage to win election, but it would be very difficult to achieve the target which Mr. Narendra Modi was aiming, that he wanted to break the record of Madhavsinh Solanki. Solanki had won 149 seats out of 182, and Modi himself could not reach more than 127. So this time they realized, and they did an experiment in municipal corporation elections, and they brought a criteria that 60 years above or more than 3 terms will not get ticket, and BJP got 90% success ratio in that election. And before this, Narendra Modi had done this experiment in Gujarat only, in Junagadh corporation election, in Baroda, Surat, and in Ahmedabad. And at that point of time also, when they changed all the corporator candidates, they got success in this 4 cities. So this time also, Modi thought that because BJP is a political laboratory, Gujarat is a political laboratory of BJP, right, they should do this experiment. And that is the reason that they are experimenting this in Gujarat.
Okay. I will take up from where you left and take it across to Smita Prakash. Good evening and good to have you on the Urban Debate, Smita. How much of this decision really has to do with bad performance and poor performance that you want to do away with before you go into next year's election campaign mode, and how much of it is to also do with appeasing the Patidar community, or bringing in fresh faces?
Thank you, Tanvi, for having me on your show. Well, I think it's not a state secret that Rupani and his team were not delivering. There was a stasis in governance and decision making. It was there for everybody to see. The only thing going for the BJP is that the Congress is in a worse off condition than the BJP, despite the BJP being in power for 25 years, as the gentleman just pointed out. The thing is that there is no very visible anti-incumbency wave in spite of 25 years of being in power. And the only reason for that is Modi. He had given stability and governance in his years as chief minister. He fronts the state election campaign that wins party elections in the state as well as in the center. Neither Anandiben nor Rupani were stellar chief ministers. The BJP now wants, like the gentleman pointed out, that he wanted to beat Solanki's record. They also want to beat the CPI's record in Bengal. So they want to win 2022, not just to win Gujarat. It's become a thing of pride, that they have to win to break that record of, I think, 34 years that the CPI had in West Bengal. So they need to win 2 terms in Gujarat to beat that record. And the new chief minister and his team, he will function like the others have been told. This chakra of 100-day plans and to work on deliverables. The BJP wants Gujarat to deliver, and they have this new team in place. And I don't think I've ever seen in my years of this entire wiping out of an earlier cabinet, no names, just the old, just a completely out of the box attempt and a very innovative approach. Let's see if it works, because I've never seen anything like this, and I'm sure the others have not seen. It's rarely that you see something like this happening, but they've got a whole new bunch of people, younger people, women, MLAs too, who are ministers. So let's see, and representation, like the gentleman said, not just of the Patels, there's also Gujarat, Saurashtra region has been represented, Gujarati communities have been represented, represented, OBC communities have been represented. They've all found representation in this. So those who are discontent, of course there will be people who are discontent, they will probably be just sitting in their Kop Bhavans for some time, because there is really not much of an option they have other than staying on in the BJP and supporting the party, because you're just 15 months before elections take place.
Yeah, but and before I go across to our political representative, Smita, usually, you know, the two leaders at the helm have things very much under control, very well planned out. They think in advance, they strategize and implement their actions much in advance. How do you read the fact that they had to actually postpone the oath taking by 24 hours because things couldn't be put together by then?
Asking me, Tanvi?
To Smita Prakash.
Well, yes, there is talk that there was a lot of that there were rumblings of discontent in the party, and that you know, when you do something like this and you just take away people who have years of experience and you bring in a completely new cabinet, then there will be discontent. But then, as I said, the discipline in this party, that sangathan that they have, very strict lines that you cannot cross. You cannot turn around and show connections to 2 generations or 3 generations of politicians or Babalog. That doesn't work, because the BJP has this feedback mechanism in place. They have gone from state to state. They have people who come back and tell you that they do audits in every state, and nobody has unaccountable power for long. They give a long rope that, yeah, you make your mistakes, you correct yourself. But nobody can take it for granted that they will be in that position for long, because they have these spreadsheets where they say, this is what was told, that you have to achieve this, you did not achieve this, this is where you have fallen short, this is the anger that people have against your government, what is your answer? And if you don't have an answer, sorry, the exit door is there.
Okay, yes, Mr. Ajay Umar, do you agree with this, or do you have a different view on how this 24-hour delay in the amount of dissent needs to be seen?
Tanvi, should I tell you the truth? BJP Chief Minister was waiting for that party chief to give him a list. Party chief had sent that list to Prime Minister's office and to Amit Bhai's office, and they did not receive any confirmation to that list. Okay, because some senior leaders and those who had deserted Congress party and joined BJP, you know, they were in a mood to revolt, like Kuvarji Bhai Babalia and Jayesh Radelia. They were the strong Congress party leaders who had joined BJP, and they were offered cabinet berths, you know, before they resigned from the assembly. So these two leaders, they were very strong leaders from Congress party. So their supporters were, you know, making big rallies in Rajkot and in Vanthali and in other areas. So they wanted to settle out that issue, and they did not get confirmation from Prime Minister Delhi Darbar. So party president Mr. C.R. Patil could not provide that list to Chief Minister, and Governor House was asking every half an hour that, you know, because protocol department has to be submitted. Once governor will give you consent to go ahead for swearing in ceremony, then, you know, protocol department has to issue an official notification, and, you know, their names need to be published in Gazette. That process, you know, could not be completed till 2:30 in the afternoon, and then governor said that after 4 o'clock it would be virtually impossible. So then, you know, they received a message, then okay, then make it tomorrow, because as such also no official notification for swearing in ceremony had been declared. So they said, okay, we'll keep it on Thursday, that is today at 1:30. But having said this, you know, one thing one should appreciate, that in this party, they had given this responsibility to take care of dissident. They told Rupani, Nitin Patel and others that, look, Mr. Rupani is sitting here, and as Chief Minister, he has resigned. Likewise, you too have to resign. When Nitin Patel, who was Deputy Chief Minister, was arguing with Mr. Bhupinder Yadav that I am representing this party since 1990 to 2021. He said, Nitin Bhai, this is the problem. You know, since last 31 years, you are representing party and you are representing one constituency. But what about others? You know, party workers are demotivated because one Nitin Bhai, one Ashok, but, you know, they are representing BJP for 7 consecutive terms. Then others are not getting chance. And anti-incumbency is within the party also, that, you know, when will we get chance? You know, if you have all seniors, then when will we get chance? So that was one of the reasons that they have changed all the seniors. And mark my words, in next election, these seniors will not get tickets also. They will bring a criteria. Those who are having more than 3 terms in assembly or more than 60 years, they will not get tickets.
So complete overhaul, Mr. Umad, as you're pointing out.
This workers, political BJP workers are very happy in Gujarat because of this decision.
Okay.
Because anti-incumbency of the senior has gone with one stroke. So they are very happy because without a single exception, everybody has gone. Sabko dho dala. So this is a new cameras plan of, BJP, and everybody is happy in Gujarat.
But okay. Everybody is happy now, at least within the party. This overhaul may work and may, at least bring about some amount of positivity amongst the cadre. But that also goes on to show, Mr. Tuhin Sinha, that very clearly the entire cabinet, not just the chief minister, have badly failed in the last 4 years, something that even the senior leadership is now cognizant of.
Good evening, Tanvi. Only a very secure and confident party can, bring about the kind of massive transformation that BJP has brought about in one stroke. So I think you need to give credit for that. We have completed 26 years in government in Gujarat, and we are preparing for the next 25. That's how futuristic we are. And, this also proves that in Gujarat, BJP's competition is with BJP. Which other party would have, inflicted the kind of transformation midway the way we have? COVID mismanagement, mind you, or COVID management / mismanagement is not an issue. My friend Anshul is over here. He is aware. I mean, if Congress has the moral authority to castigate us on COVID management in Gujarat, have they ever asked for Uddhav Thackeray's resignation? A state which is worst managed? Have they ever asked for Pinarayi Vijayan's resignation or Arvind Kejriwal's resignation? So I don't think performance per se was a factor. Vijay Rupani ji has been a good performer. Even now, if you could travel across Gujarat, the penetration of broadband connectivity across villages, the village road connectivity is phenomenal. But anyway, coming back to the point, I think this is a preparation for the next 25 years. If you see the representational character of this government, all parts of Gujarat have been adequately represented, whether it is Saurashtra, South Gujarat, the northern part. Age-wise, there are 3 cabinet ministers in their 30s, which brings a new lease, a new freshness to the government. So I think we are definitely preparing for the next 2 decades ahead. And I think if Congress today just blindly apes the BJP, it will be way ahead of where they stand right now.
So, Tuhin, just on a lighter note, when you say that it's the BJP is in competition with the BJP, just reminds me of Punjab, where the Congress is in competition with Congress and also self-destructing. I hope that's not what happens, and what strategy that you've implemented in Gujarat actually is helpful for you in the next election. But respond to this, Anshul Avjit, that look at the way they have timely reacted, overhauled, and they plan well in advance for elections.
Well, you call it timely reaction. I mean, this is completely unprecedented. I call it extraordinary, and I wouldn't normally like to comment on the internal goings-on of the BJP, because it's very unpleasant. It gives me no pleasure. But this is completely extraordinary. And I'll tell you why. There's a complete sacrifice. There's a complete change of guard. It's tabula rasa. It's a blank slate over here. And what has happened is that a hapless government has been removed and replaced by an incompetent one. So you have the worst performing government in the history of independent India, because everyone has been removed. There is no precedent over here, which leads us to believe that this was the worst performing government, has now been removed and replaced by the most inexperienced government, because nobody here has any clue how to govern. Right? Now, normally this would not bother me, but I'm interested in what is the fate of Gujarat after this has happened. You God forbid, there might be another wave coming up. The economy is in shambles, the migrant labor problem, rural distress. I mean, a new government has to handle all this. A couple of things emerge from this, and I'll run through them very, very quickly. First of all, what this shows is that the puppeteers are sitting in Delhi, and this is the theater that is going on in Gujarat. So there is no doubt now who is in control of Gujarat, or has been. It's not so much as the squeal, it's so much the grip that Mr. Shah and Mr. Modi have on the state of Gujarat. I think what was called earlier discipline is absolute autocracy, right? It's tyranny. There's not so much as a squeal over there. And I'll come to that in a minute. But I think Mr. Modi likes to imagine himself also as this kind of Oriental potentate, what the British used to fantasize about. And I think he's going to live that image up here. The second thing I want to talk about, and I was highly amused to see these headlines in the newspapers today, not the newspapers, but the websites, that, non-performers have been axed. This is not about performance. This is not about governance at all. I mean, if we have established the fact, as everybody has, every single commentator, that this is a remote-controlled government, then the non-performers were actually sitting in the center. They are the puppeteers. So, I mean, if somebody has to be moved, if you're talking about non-performance and lack of discipline internally in the party, then who should be the worst to go? I mean, look, the whole country is in shambles. The economy, the response, the macroeconomic response to the pandemic, everything has gone haywire. So this is not about governments. This is an internal sacrifice. This is bloodletting to protect the image of the Prime Minister, the floundering image of the Prime Minister, as was done during the cabinet reshuffle at the center when the hapless Union Home Minister was completely sacrificed. No doubt he had to go anyway, but he was completely sacrificed to protect the image of the Prime Minister.
Okay, and let me get Tuhin to respond to that. Anshul, let me get Tuhin to respond to that. You've painted such a doomsday picture for the entire country. Let me get Tuhin to respond to that.
Well, I mean, a party which had a silent Prime Minister and Manmohan Singh, it's a little too rich for them to comment on how BJP controls its chief ministers. But for a moment, let us assume that, it's the worst performing state government in history, if he says. But then what does it speak about the opposition in Gujarat? Even in the last 4 years, from the time they managed to manage a kind of a semi-revival of sorts in 2017, once again in Gujarat, the Congress is faced with an existential crisis. So if you're not able to combat a non-performing government, what does that reflect upon the Congress? When will Congress do some amount of introspection? And for a moment, even if you assume that, our governments are controlled by the center, look at the amount of effort we are putting in course correction. We are not being destructive like the way you have been in Punjab, where you suddenly scuttle a performing chief minister and you impose a joker like Sidhu to simply make the government crumble.
Okay.
We have done
course correction. Tuhin Sinha calls it course correction. Others would say it's bad performance, being recorded and action being taken. Others would say it's simply damage control ahead of elections. Congress says it's to protect the image of Prime Minister Modi, though in Gujarat, I don't know how much, if that is actually required to be done. There is way too much love still there for him, is the sense I get. But I know, Mr. Umat, you want to make a point. Before that, let me also bring in Rakesh Shirpara, because Tuhin made a comment about the opposition. And there is another one now, gaining strength in Gujarat. Yes, Rakesh.
Yeah. Tanvi,
Mr. Umat, just 1 minute. Let me just get the Aam Aadmi Party to make their opening comments.
please.
Yes, thank you. Actually, you must have seen the scenario and the situation in Gujarat. Does the BJP have any logical reason behind doing this at this point of time? They have just celebrated their 5-year success just recently. They have spent millions of rupees behind this celebration. The hoardings are still there on the roads of Gujarat. BJP itself actually has accepted today its failure by doing this. Who changes their successful ministers at any point of no, there is no obvious reason. And second one reason is Congress is a comfortable opposition for BJP. Actually, the partner will be the better word instead of opposition. Nobody wants to vote for Congress in Gujarat. People of Gujarat have never seen Congress fighting for the real issues of the state. People had massively voted for Congress in 2017 assembly election, but the Congress has never raised voice for the people. So people do not trust Congress anymore. Congress is nowhere to be seen but quite the opposition. But quite the opposite, the Aam Aadmi Party has always been on the ground and has always fought for the people. The 27 councillors have been working so hard on the ground for the welfare of the people. The Dharti Putra Sanman Yatra for the farmers are getting huge response from the people. We have just completed the Jan Samvedna Yatra very successfully.
No, but Mr. Hilpara, let me ask you this. Do you agree that that this is going to work for the BJP? This is timely course correction. Tuhin Sinha says it's course correction. They still have time. They've gotten rid of the entire team that could have been blamed for the second wave disaster, for the, you know, huge number of deaths that took place, for the all of the mismanagement conversations that have happened for Gujarat in the last 6 months. They've done away with all of that. It's a fresh team for next election.
Are you asking me?
Yes, I am.
Yes, actually, yes, I do not agree with Tuhin. Actually, who will, my point is the same, that who will change their successful minister if he or she is performing. So there is so much of anger in the people because the BJP has failed in every points and every issues like education, health, farming, villages, health, employment, security, inflation, and this game is going on just to divert the attention of the people. So the BJP is completely exposed now. Whatever they do, the people are getting this. Why are all these things happening at this point of time?
Okay. Yes, Ajay Umat wanted to come in earlier. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So, Tanvi, you know, the Congress spokesman has painted a very nice doomsday picture. And I assume and I say that, you know, most of the things that he has said is correct also. But, you know, what Congress party is doing, what Congress since last 2 years, there is no legislative party leader in Congress party in Gujarat. There is no party president in Gujarat. There is no, unfortunately, Rajiv Satav died and they could not appoint a party in charge in Gujarat since last 9 months. This is the Congress party scenario. Another thing, in 2017, BJP has reached to its lowest ebb. They got only 99 seats out of 182. So BJP was out at nervous 99, could not reach to 3-digit figures also. And if Mr. Narendra Modi and Amit Shah would not have worked in last 7 days and could not have held, you know, 35 rallies, BJP would have lost also. It would have been touch and go. But after that, as Tuhin has said, BJP has done course correction. Unfortunately, Congress could not get advantage of that. You know, when Patel agitation was at its peak, you know, Congress could have taken advantage of it. They did not. In 2019 elections, BJP got 26 out of 26 in Gujarat. In corporation elections, they won all the 6 municipal corporations. In district panchayat, they won all the 33 district panchayat. 100% result. And in 8 by-elections, BJP had won all 8 elections, all 8 by-election seats. So if election performance is a barometer, then BJP has done fantastic and Congress could score big 0. Now, Aam Aadmi Party has entered into Gujarat, and in Surat also, whatever success Aam Aadmi Party has gained, it is because of loss of Congress party. BJP has won Surat Municipal Corporation also, but the loss of Congress party's Patel vote is gain for Aam Aadmi Party. Aam Aadmi Party has not won a single seat in Ahmedabad, Baroda, Surat, Rajkot, Bhavnagar, Jamnagar, Junagadh, or any other municipal corporation. So it is in opposition also, you know, it is a fight between Congress party and Aam Aadmi Party. BJP is very, very comfortable with their booth management, with their page management, and with their election management. So I may criticize BJP, you know, for their COVID mismanagement. I may criticize for, you know, farmers are not getting minimum support price. I may have a lot of issues to criticize BJP. But having said that, you know, BJP is doing wonderful work in their electioneering, which Congress party and Aam Aadmi Party is still entering into Gujarat. But, you know, Congress has failed miserably to encase this anti-establishment or anti-incumbency feeling.
Okay, Anshul Avjit, yes, please respond to this because this is a fact-based argument that you know, Ajay has made about the state of affairs in your party, even in Gujarat.
No, my point is, I mean, look at the way the argument has been, the narrative has been twisted. I mean, the peg of the story is the new government in Gujarat. The peg of the story is the gross mismanagement of this government, the worst performing in independent history.
Yeah, but who's highlighting that on behalf of your party in Gujarat? Anshul, who's going to lead this campaign and highlight this in Gujarat for your party? Who's the leader?
No, but you're going into this classic presidential conflict between two people, and I may make attractive TV, but that's not the way polity or parliamentary democracy works. I mean, that is for us to decide. Okay. We will come to that. The peg of the story is the gross mismanagement of this party, from the ventilator scam to the unremitting indictment by the High Court of this government. I mean, they've been completely ceaseless, by saying that, they haven't gone through any of the directives. We've told them they have been sleeping. I'll give you quote after quote of the High Court, not just me, not the Congress party or not anybody else, of the High Court of this government. I will also come to UP and give you that same kind of indictment which is given by the Allahabad High Court. There's been one scam after another. There's been shortage of drugs. There has been remdesivir which has been distributed without any impunity by the state president, who said, and people ask him, listen, where did you get these vials from? He said, I got it from a friend. When people have been dying. I mean, the Supreme Court has said that you haven't put fire safety norms in process, and you're still coming and talking about the Congress. The Congress is ready. It is battle ready. It got pretty close last time. It got 77 seats. It is working on the ground. We do what we have to. But, that doesn't mean that the state has to be sacrificed for the sake of politics. I mean, look at where the state has gone. Therefore, this government had to be changed. But the indictment, the direct indictment and blame has to fall on the shoulders of the central leadership. Where is that going? Because on one hand, you're saying it's remote control, but the other side, you're protecting them and exonerating them from any blame. I don't understand this.
Okay, so if you say that it's the central leadership that needs to take the responsibility and blame because they remote control everything, but it's being put on state leaders. I actually want to take that point and take it across to Smita Prakash. Smita, let's just see, how BJP has dealt with several of these states in the aftermath of the second wave. And the second wave did become a very big concern for the party itself. In Karnataka, the chief minister, for various other reasons, also has been replaced much ahead of elections. The dissent has been quashed right there. 2 years ahead of time, midterm itself, the changes have been made. That problem addressed. In Uttarakhand, chief minister.
Excuse me, I have to leave for other program.
All right, Mr. Roma, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
In Uttarakhand, Smita, the chief minister replaced. In UP, there was much buzz, but they have decided to not only keep on the chief minister, endorse him at every level, make cabinet changes, keeping in mind the caste arithmetics. In Gujarat, the chief minister has been asked to go, and so has the entire cabinet. How do you see this difference in how the same party leadership has treated Uttar Pradesh versus Gujarat in the aftermath of second wave?
So, what the BJP does is that they give a long rope to their chief ministers, and they will defend the chief minister while he's still in office, even if he has mismanaged the COVID wave, as you say, or the economy, or the migrant crisis. They will allow that to happen till they have all the documents in place to show that this is not working. So I think what happened with the first wave and the second wave is that they did not do the changes at that time. They went forward with their policies and programs on how to deal with the COVID crisis. Once the second wave was over and there is this talk of the possibility of the third wave, then about the chief ministers who did not deliver as far as the first and second wave are concerned. They were told to leave if they mismanaged either the second wave or the first wave or both the waves, and they have not delivered on the economy. They've not managed to bring about some energy into their governance, into their the possibility of winning the next election. So various criteria have been there. They had these point persons who went from state to state where they have state governments. They did extensive exercise and feedback processes. Gujarat chief minister as well as 3 other chief ministers did not measure up to what they have done as far as their points are concerned. And he had to go. The entire team had to go. And as the gentleman pointed out, the one who left the program, he's on the ground. He knows what is happening. It's the truth. The Aam Aadmi Party has made waves, has made inroads into where that vacuum was created by the Congress Party. The Congress Party is actually thinking that they're going to be fighting this election or winning this election even by going on social media and going on TV debates. They are not there on the ground. And that vacuum is being filled by Aam Aadmi Party. Does that bother the Congress? as much as it bothers the BJP, it bothers the BJP more than the Congress. Why? Because the BJP doesn't want Aam Aadmi Party to win even a single state beyond Delhi. If they can restrict Arvind Kejriwal to just Delhi, they would have achieved something before the 2024 polls. Probably in Punjab, the Congress seems to be combusting. If they combust the way they are going right now, Aam Aadmi Party wins that state. If Gujarat is not put on track and they don't win Gujarat, the Aam Aadmi Party could win that state too. If Arvind Kejriwal has 3 states, which is 2.5 actually, if you count Delhi, he is in a better position to be an opposition candidate rather than Mamta or Pawar or anybody else.
Interesting, very interesting point made there. The big challenge of the Aam Aadmi Party, Punjab and Gujarat to be watched out for. Tuhin, respond to that.
You know, I still believe that both the Congress and Aam Aadmi Party are right now fringe players in Gujarat, and BJP's equation is solely with the people of Gujarat. It is that feedback that, you know, and you have to give credit to our feedback and response mechanism, because unlike the Congress, which is delusional, which does not listen to the people, which encourages internal bickering, we respond to the feedback which we get from the ground, whether it is from the Karyakartas or from the general public. Number 2, you know, I'm just astounded by the hypocrisy of the Congress party. They keep repeating. I don't know how Anshul declares that this was the worst performing government in independent India. I don't know what is the criteria. But Rahul Gandhi, being an MP from Kerala, has he ever uttered a word on Kerala mismanagement? So I think the Congress needs to get out of this hypocrisy. You know, I mean, of course, if there has been a course correction mid-semester, there was a need. But again, you have to give it to the party for being so vigilant, for being so you know, for being so conscious of the need for a change. It takes a lot of boldness, it takes a lot of decisiveness to inflict the sort of changes, and I think it should set a new benchmark in Indian politics. Because any which way, why should power be concentrated in a small group of people to identify first-time MLAs and, you know, to think of them as capable of being the CM requires an immense you know, ability to spot talent, which is what we have always been successful with. Mr. Modi, when he became the Chief Minister of Gujarat, was not an MLA. He had never contested elections. Yogi Ji, when he became the CM of Uttar Pradesh, had never been a minister, even you know, either at the center or the state. So you have to give it to the party. We have an eye to spot
He'd been a 4-time MP from Gorakhpur, very well entrenched into the politics of it. Very different from a first-time MLA who has now been made the Chief Minister. While there is merit to some part of what you're saying, Tuhin, the fact of the matter is it's not just the Chief Minister you brought in. You brought in an entirely new cabinet, and not mid-term. You've brought it in at the end of 4 years. As you're getting into your election year, you've done that. It's not mid-term. Now, if the idea is to give more space and, you know, to grow to the new talent and get rid of the old one, you should have done it much earlier. It's obviously because of one very basic reason, that you want to send across a message to get rid of the old image and bring in some new people, caste arithmetic involved and factored in. That's as simple as that is. But let me just bring in Rakesh Hirpara on this conversation as well. Rakesh, Tuhin Sinha says both the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party are still fringe in Gujarat.
Actually, one of the ex-ministers of BJP has accepted on a reputed news channel of Gujarat today that AAP is becoming more and more popular day by day. It is the remark, it is the statement of their ex-minister today, just before, I think, 5 to 7 hours before. So I think I do not agree with Tuhin's remarks, and the people are getting attracted day by day more and more to the Aam Aadmi Party, because, as I have said, the leaders of the state unit of Aam Aadmi Party have continuously been with the people, whether it is Taukte cyclone, whether it is Corona pandemic. The volunteers, the leaders have served the people 24/7. People have been watching this. All the programs like Dharti Putra Sanman Yatras, Jan Samvedna Yatras are getting huge responses in the cities as well as in the villages. So We are very confident about the results in in the next election, and the BJP has completely lost their ground because their leaders are never seen on the ground. So
never seen on the ground. Never seen on the ground, says the Aam Aadmi Party. Before I wrap this up, final question to Smita Prakash. Is there a concern within the BJP, though, that even after these many years of the big two leaders leaving state politics and coming to centre, they've not managed to find a strong face in Gujarat? They still struggle to find that one key strong face in Gujarat.
It'll be a long time, Tanvi, before they can find a face in Gujarat as popular, as acceptable, as trustworthy for the Gujaratis as Modi and Amit Shah. These are the two tallest leaders in the BJP for Gujarat, and they are the two names. So for them, for everybody else comes, it's like number 1 and number 2, and then you come to number 9 and number 10. So it's going to be a long while, but it is a negative thing for the BJP that they are not able to bring up state leaders all that much. There are some of them, yes, but that is the reason why all this revamping is taking place. As the gentleman pointed out, that you can't have like 3-time, 4-time, 5-time MLAs who have occupied that position and not allowing the others to come. So the anti-incumbency factor playing out in many states. So that's why, and you see even in the centre when that reshuffle took place a couple of months back, that was exactly that there have been ministers who have been there for a long time. They've been there for 7 years. It's time to move on and let younger people come in and let them take over the reins and bring in fresh ideas, out of the box ideas. That is probably the reason why the BJP is conducting this exercise in many of the states.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to wrap this conversation up. Thank you to all of the panelists for joining us. We wait and watch how this works out for the BJP and whether this actually also becomes a warning, alarming bell for the Congress party to wake up and get their act together in Gujarat. They came close to the BJP the last time, but since then have completely fallen apart in the state of Gujarat as far as their leadership is concerned. Look at the contrast. That's what it is. The BJP, yes, it's a sign and an acknowledgement of the fact that this specific leadership in Gujarat had failed. And there was much anti-incumbency, much discontent, anger over various issues, even in the state of Gujarat, that had to be addressed. And in one stroke, the BJP central leadership has done that. Not only have they gotten better and higher representation for the Patidar community, they have also ensured there is representation from all regions. They've also ensured there are ministers from the ST community, from the SC community. They've got their caste arithmetic on point. They've got new faces in. They've got their messaging in, even for youngsters, even for women. And they have, in one single shot, made it clear as a message to the people that non-performers will be moved out to bring in fresh blood. That's how the BJP has dealt with what looked like a big challenge and a crisis for them in the state of Gujarat. What is opposition parties going to do? That remains to be seen. Thank you for joining us on this conversation.